about this rumor that you are really hired Mr. Stark.
Good evening. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddycat, with the timely intros because, as we know, Halloween was like a week or so ago, and you know, nothing says good podcasting like good timing, right? Exactly. And that voice you hear is my man Mamelo, always on time, Agent _70.
What's up, everybody?
Gotta give it up, man. And not with us tonight for their various commitments are PCN _Dirt and Tim Dog. Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
And Tim Dog 98, Tim Dad 98. Y'all know him. Y'all love him. So yeah, you can always find us at our individual accounts. I know I usually kind of throw that stuff out there all right out the bat, but I'll just do this right now in one fell swoop. Me, Roddycat, on Twitter and Instagram, and CB Caps on Instagram. You can also find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter, and there's the Reddit out there. Agent _70. You can find him on Twitter at that and Instagram. You can find PCN _Dirt on Twitter at that handle, and Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, and ineedcomics.com. And of course, Tim DOGG98 on Twitter and probably Instagram too. Now that I'm thinking about it, but I don't know, hey. TheClickNation.com, TheClickNation on Twitter, Comic Book Resources. Go check him out over there and check out all the stuff he's writing over there. And of course, you can find this here podcast on the network that with the phrase that pays, cspn.news. You can also subscribe to this podcast on Google Play, iTunes, probably on SoundCloud. On still the SoundCloud link. And also, we just found out that Comic Book Chronicles is on Spotify. So go check us out.
Just search for Comic Book Chronicles. When I found out, I searched for it, and I was doing the dance of joy. Die, 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 die. Hey, 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 hey.
Exactly. And since I haven't had a chance, just found this out before we started recording, I will have to do that and do that same thing. But last but not least, you can go to shop.cspn.us and get some merch from this here podcast and other podcasts on the CSPN network. Do it today. Before we get into the comic book news, I just want to say prayers and condolences to all of the families and people that have been affected by the California shooting yesterday, or this morning, actually, excuse me.
Yeah, sad stuff.
At the time of this recording, Thursday the 7th. So I forgot to pull some links to where you can send money or whatever to help, because or the main thing we need to do is get guns off the get better gun control, but we're not gonna.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a deep and complex conversation that we'd have to dedicate an entire show to.
Yep. And
at least that's probably still wouldn't be enough.
Basically, and it's basically would be outside of the scope of this program anyway. But we're still gonna at least touch on them because it is a thing in the news that affects people, and we are not heartless bastards. So with that,
Right, and forgive us for using gun-themed sound effects here.
Yeah, there is that too, because we do have that. Which if we think about it, we can substitute or whatever the case may be.
Nah.
We got plenty of sound effects, and that's just only one out of many, many, many.
Exactly.
So again, forgive us if you hear that. Books of the week. We're going to get started off with, I think we said, Doctor Strange #7.
Yes, we both read this book.
We did both read this book, and actually, I just thought about something which I should have plugged in here already, but I don't think it's going to work. So, if you want to, go ahead and start. Let's start to get to chopping that one up.
Sure. So, in this issue, we run into Doctor Strange and his intergalactic pal, Kana, or Kana. I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
I've been saying Kana, but actually I don't know either. Now that you say that.
Well, they're hot on the trail of Casey, the once, what was she, an apprentice to Doctor Strange? Or like an assistant?
Kind of a wannabe. She was, I guess, an apprentice. Let's just go ahead and say that for short order. Right. So with that said, she is starting to run amok and has become overpowered. That's a new term in my vocabulary. Thanks to PC_Dirt last week. Shout out to Dirt. Us gamer folks, gamer folks know that term quite well.
Exactly. So. Right. So former apprentice Casey has become quite overpowered and has taken on the guise of one Stephen Strange and is perpetrating a particular fraud on everybody and is also stealing magical artifacts. And Doctor Strange and Kana are trying to come up with various strategies to try to contain and help Casey. So while Kana is tasked with doing something pretty cool in the depths of the Sanctum Sanctorum, Stephen is left to confront and try to contain Casey. And the next thing we know, what's revealed is the source of the overpowering.
Yeah, and longtime Doctor Strange fans will not, should not be surprised about who is behind the shenanigans.
Exactly. It has been a while since we've seen the character.
It hasn't been that long, actually.
Not too long, because we did see the character in the first series, right? The first series of the relaunch.
Mm-hmm. So it's but then again, we saw a bunch of his rogues gallery kind of roll in
exactly
during the tail end of that. So that's not spoiling anything either way. But let's put it this way: recent effects, especially in the cinematic universe, you kind of can speculate.
Exactly. I mean, but what's funny is that Strange actually has a halfway decent rogues gallery. It's not the strongest rogues gallery. We're not talking Batman and Spidey, but we're dealing with some of the really magical and demonic heavyweights when we're talking about Doctor Strange's rogues gallery. So.
It's true. And of course, this doesn't show up. Jerky thing.
What's that?
But I was gonna.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Well, that's not showing up like I wanted to, but so I'm showing the cover of the book, which I don't think I'll continue to do that one because this ain't working like I want to. Anywho, but yeah, I enjoyed this issue. I dare say, and as I said in my notes, when we got to the part where Kana and Bats were basically going over the scene of the crime, as it were, because they were investigating a demon that had some ties to Casey.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of doing like some CSI or CMI, I guess you want to call it. Well, actually, it would still be CSI because
right.
That doesn't stand for science. I want to see a book with these two, just going around solving magical crimes.
That would be pretty cool.
Like this is like just
anything with bats, right?
I mean, kind of, but them two together, it was just like the way they kind of go off of each other, and it's like okay, because it seemed like they were they were almost going into a procedural the way they were going about it, and like just they're
well, it's kind of
even down to the talking of, interests of love to of one of the characters.
What I was going to say is it's kind of cool that Wade is definitely using Bats, a supporting character that was introduced during Kate's run. And it was during Kate's, right? It wasn't during Aaron, was it?
Actually, no, I believe he was
only for Kate's, because like when the doc when he became a veterinarian, right? That was during Kate's run.
Yes.
Oh,
Because I thought he was introduced before that, but then just led into that. But yeah, you're right.
Right. So I like that Wade is incorporating Bats, the ghost dog, into his run as a major supporting character. And Kana's actually she seemed to kind of fill a gap that used to be mostly Clea.
And of late Zelda, but yeah,
right. Or Zelma,
excuse me, yeah.
Zelda is a different character altogether.
Yeah. That princess in another character. Yeah.
So, but in any event, it's the character herself is actually, like I said, filling a big gap in Doctor Strange's story, and it's turned out to be. It's been a while since Strange has had that kind of romantic tension in his book, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but unfortunately, as things tend to go, I feel like as they have in the past, it's probably going to go south at some point, especially with what's still hanging out there with Kana.
True enough.
And the guy goes back to where, like, even with Zelma, which I don't know there was much romantic interaction, but he actually cared for her. And I'm also kind of glad that it wasn't Zelma that was
right.
It was
so they don't. Yeah, they're not turning her right away. I gotcha.
Right, or hopefully never, because I like Zelma. Zelma was a cool character. And I'm assuming she's gonna pop back up at some point. Anyway, but yeah, the thing with Kana, I feel like that's still gonna come to a head at some point. But yeah, I do like the way they kind of play off of each other, and it's not new for him, but it's actually a different take on that kind of stuff. And it's still, like you said, with the Clear reference, kind of closer to that, or could potentially be closer to that than any other thing. So, like I said, I am enjoying that. Get me a Bats and Kana kind of crime book. That's all I'm saying. Magical
criminal scene investigations. Yeah, it would just be MCSI.
Yes, there you go. So, and I was just thinking, I was like, if you go back to Thor's and put Jason Aaron on it, that might even work. I mean, I don't know, Wade might be able to pull it off. So, just saying, throw that out there. That was a free one, Marvel. But if you want to throw me some money, I'm all for it. I will not say no. Anyway, so I think we've exhausted that one. Let us go to, since you handled the event books from this week, let's do that real quick.
No problem. So the first one I'm going to cover is the one that I'm really enjoying a lot, and that is Spider-Geddon. So this week saw Spider-Geddon #3 come out, and just allow me a moment to pull up the book so I can refer to it directly. The various teams that have been split up according to heroic philosophy have started to engage in their plans against the Inheritors. And if you are not caught up, this is definitely not the issue to pick up. I would definitely recommend reading, at the very least, Spider-Geddon 1 and 2 before jumping into Spider-Geddon 3, just so that you can get a little bit of a primer on what's going on in this book. But basically, the Superior Spider-Man, the Otto Octavius-led team, takes advantage of another team's strike against the Inheritors, and they try their best to take out some of the cloning technology that the Inheritors are using, thanks to stupid Otto Octavius, and based off of uh, Ben Reilly, aka the Jackal's work in the Clone Saga. Basically, at the end of this story, the strikes are semi-successful. And I'm flipping to the end because I don't exactly remember where we leave off. Oh, I know. So basically where we leave off is their strike is semi-successful. They are able to at least stunt the inheritors' ability to create clone bodies, but there is dissension in the ranks, and it comes from some of the usual sources, but in different forms. And that's the best part about Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon, which is the various characters who are in the Spider-Man mold but come from different secret identities. And we see how those secret identities, kind of like what we were talking about last week with the Fantastic Four, some characters don't change their spots. Some of them just don't across the multiverse. Or at least very few of them do. One such example in this case is actually a female heroic Dr. Octopus. But I'll use Norman Osborn as an example, where across the universe, across the multiverse, Norman Osborn usually doesn't change his wavy hair.
Right.
That's pretty much. That's pretty much. That's the Norman Osborn you're going to get across the multiverse.
Right.
So that's where we end off in that issue. And the
I was going to ask a question, because judging by this cover and what I've seen in articles, would you say that there would be a Spider Civil War going on?
It's a minor conflict. It's a minor conflict because at the end of the argument, there's as I said earlier, one team decides to use the other team's attack or possibly ill-timed attack as a distraction. So they made it work out without working it out.
Gotcha. All right.
And that's pretty much kind of like the serendipity of it all. But as I mentioned earlier, there is dissension in the ranks, and that could be a source of conflict further down the road.
All right, cool.
And the other event book that's out this week is Infinity Wars, and I have to tell you, I think I really could have gone without reading this, because I don't think any of the panel is keeping up with the Infinity Warps books and the smushing of the characters books. Mm-hmm. So if you're not following that, and all you're doing is what I'm doing, which is reading the basic miniseries, there's really only so much that's going on. We're dealing with characters who are now wielding aspects, or who are now wielding the Infinity Gems/stones, but aren't necessarily using the ones that they would be associated with. And when I say that, you have to think along the lines of the original wielders or the original hosts for the Infinity Gems back in the pre-Infinity Gauntlet miniseries era. I'll use what was his name called? Was it the Champion?
Yes.
Yeah, the Champion was like an intergalactic warrior who wielded, I believe, the Power Stone.
Right, the Elders of the Universe.
Ah, that's it. They were the Elders of the Universe. I couldn't recall their group name, but that was the typical. He would be the prototypical wielder of the Power Stone, and in this, it's a bit of a change up that Jerry Duggan is put into effect, where the Hulk, you would think, would be wielding the Power Stone, but isn't. So, and they use that to a certain effect in their battle against Gamora and her quest to to do whatever it is that she wants to do and remake the universe in a variation of what Thanos does. Ultimately, what does it really mean? If we don't really care about what these characters are doing, and that's really the worst part. Is that it looks nice. Deodato's art is pretty dramatic. There's a couple of really cool scenes in this, but ultimately, where is the story going?
Kamala doesn't seem like she would truck with this group on the cover. I know she's dealing with Loki before, but
right. What I was going to say is she's, to a certain extent, uniquely qualified to wield a certain gem, and that's why she's recruited on this particular mission. And Loki does play a big role in this, and there's, I think, more to the story that we're missing if you aren't reading the crossover issues concerning Loki and the mushed up characters, because the mushed up characters do appear at a certain point towards the end of the book. And they seem to recognize Loki and things that are going on when it comes to trying to take out Gamora. But the end of the issue deals with, I believe, what happened to Drax. So there's still one more issue of this miniseries left. And I believe the next important book that people are going to want to read is the one-shot Fallen Guardian.
Gee, I wonder who that could be about.
Exactly. So that being that will put the wrap on this Infinity Wars miniseries when it comes to a close in December.
Cool.
So those are the two big event books of the week.
Cool beanies. I haven't been reading these, and I keep saying I'm gonna catch up, but I don't know, it's kind of hard.
It's tough.
By next month, or try to by next month. But
I mean, I think it'll read as a pretty exciting, one shot read. If you're sitting down in it and reading in a trade format, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's hoping. All right. And I guess speaking of that, we can get to a book that I was going to go one way with it, but now it makes more sense to go another way. And that would be Champions number 26, because we both read it.
Sure.
I am still enjoying this little arclet, which is only going to be 3 issues, and this is the second of which. So, Champions are in Weird World, and apparently we find out, which I did not know because I did not read Weird World in the first place. Last year or two, whenever it was, Weird World has overgone some changes, or had overgone a change,
or two, because what's described in this is one of the denizens of Weird World describes, like in quick succession, the various people that have tried to conquer Weird World since Secret Wars. Right.
And this particular person, I did not know who this person was, and I had to do some research on. So, and I was like, oh, right, this person, which also drew a parallel to a slightly similar situation that happened in Trinity for DC. I feels like. Including a similar archetype, with the exception of her dad didn't show up in the book, and I don't know if the same thing is, if it's the same. But regardless, so the champions have been brought over to the Weird World because Sam and Nadia were swooped through this portal, and the rest of the team went through the siege parallel, and they all, with the exception of Riri, lost their memories. That's been going on. That's what happened last issue. And the only reason why Riri is keeping her memories, as we find out in this issue, is because she's been having bad dreams of Thanos, because she
almost got killed. Right? Basically, she did get shook. She's a halfway hero so far.
Right. So which kind of lead me to is like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but at the same time, I was like, that's okay, sure. If you got to use something as a tie to that, I guess that makes some sort of sense. But at the same time, it was like, because they really didn't think they were going to even address that. That didn't seem like it was going to be addressed ever in any meaningful way. And I'm still not convinced that it will outside of this. I mean, although we know it led her to do her new armor, regardless. But it is what it is. So anyway, the champions go through. As they go through, like I said, they lose their memories, with the exception of Riri, and they all fall into D&D stereotype, or not stereotypes. That's not the word. D&D archetypes
Mhm.
is what I meant to say, not stereotypes. Which is why I'm enjoying this book. And as I said last time, we talked about this Jim Zub, and I think also the artists of the book also are the creative team of some a D&D book or two. So that kind of makes sense all the way around. And so in this one, we see.
I was about to say I liked Miss Marvel pulling her best Hermione Granger.
Right?
That was hysterical. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god! It's straight out of the first movie."
Yeah, and I was gonna say on that front either, because it was also like, damn, she could have been her own Infinity War also, with the exception of the fact she's not really using, her powers, But she did, as you said, she did pull a kind of Hermione and also use one of her catchphrases, so that worked out pretty nicely. But yeah, like I said, we see the dark middle chapter kind of happen on this one because the team's led is forced to kind of retreat, because of some things that go on. Another member of the team kind of comes in, or it gets rebuilt, I guess you could say. Right. And then like you said earlier, we find out some backstory on what's been going on in Weird World, including a callback to apparently a book I haven't seen or heard of, and who might also show up in the next issue. We don't know in many years, because there are crystals involved. And if you see on the cover that I'm holding up, that I'm not holding up, that I have up, Sam Alexander is holding a sword that is basically a reference to a long lost Marvel property.
Right. I honestly don't know if they have the rights to that character, but they definitely, are incorporating, like throughout Secret Wars when they were doing Weird World.
Right.
And when they
that character, right. And I think that character actually they may do, because I think that character may have shown up from my research.
Gotcha. But yeah, that's it's definitely an element of Weird World. These particular Crystal Warriors. We'll leave it. And I'd like to see where this story ends. The particular enemy that they are facing in this is they're definitely adapting to make him one of the Champions' arch foes, adding him as a member of their nascent rogues gallery. And it's an interesting twist because, this character's really never been all that formidable before.
Right. I was about to say, isn't he an Alpha Flight villain?
Right.
Which, that says a lot right there.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so we will see how that. Which actually, I don't know if that's kind of disappointing, because I'm like, wow, the Champions can be better than this.
Yeah, but you know how it is. Sometimes they OP the villains so that they make them more formidable. So
sure, yeah, or at least somewhat of a challenge. And in this case, like I said, they are in a different realm, and actually we see how he gets there and pretty much gets to, well, at least starts to get to the power he gets to wield or whatnot, and again having to do with crystal warriors. So again, I've been enjoying this. Like I said, this is the geek in me loves the D&D aspect.
Yeah, I was about to say the RPG crossover is pretty fun.
So I've been enjoying this, and like I said, it's only a 3-issue arc if I'm not mistaken. So it's all gonna come together next issue.
Alrighty.
And I believe, actually, I do have one I want to put out there because I love the heck out of this one, as I write in that last book that I think I might have missed on the other. No, I did not. And my book is Iceman #3. And if you see by the cover that I'm about to put up, you can probably gather as to why I wanted to bring up this book, because it's, well, as he says it in the book himself, Iceman and his amazing friend, as it says on the cover, which is kind of funny because he does say that, in spite of like, I don't think it goes like that. So
in his book, it does.
Right, exactly. So that being said, this is a particular click of the week of me, not just because of that, but definitely because of that. So if you did not know, Spider-Man Spider-Man had an animated series back in the 80s, but that was only a year, and then the next year after that, they made him basically a team up with Firestar and Iceman, and they called it Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and hence that is for those of us that are not of a certain vintage who don't know this. And we've had, like I said, I think 2014 was the last time they had a team up together. But here we are again with Iceman in his book, which is I don't know what's been going on in his book because I hadn't been really reading it. But in this issue, Bobby, Angelica, and Peter are all on 3 separate dates at the same street fair, and then a villain or a big monster, which actually one kind of could double as a villain that may have shown up on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Now that I think about it, in fact, if you saw the opening of the show, you would have seen that particular villain or creature shows up, and so they try to stop it. And of course, there is a lot of little things that evoke the spirit of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and I loved every second of it, including I don't know if you plan on reading this.
No, I think I read the first issue, but I missed the second one. But it looks like this is a standalone.
It pretty much is. Like it does. Well, it is. It isn't, because the creature involved does have a tie with what's been going on in the last couple of issues. Okay. And in fact of the end of it, it kind of circles back around to kind of go back to, what he's dealing with. But for the most part, it is a standalone issue, and you can pretty much read it as long as that. So that said, like I said, there are.
I just got to the page where Iceman and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah, but there's also a little things. If you look closely, there's also one or two other, especially with what they say, and also let's just say there's a blink and you miss cameo by another star of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. So you should, if you find that, you should definitely check that out. There's also what seems to be a tease, and I don't know if it's something that's actually going to happen or not, but they kind of tease in a page a possible, which I wouldn't mind because I've been wanting this book, them teaming up more often. And like I said, there's no news or anything on a book or whatnot, so I don't think this is anything serious, but it does kind of get mentioned, and I'm like, okay, I would want to see that book. I want this book. Matter of fact, I said the last time we talked about a crossover, which was in X-Men a few years ago. It's like and I said the same thing. I was like, I would love to see a book with Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
Well, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that this is like a reinvigoration of their connections,
right? Exactly. Which obviously, since Firestar and Iceman are both mutants, and their connection is still
through the X-Men, right?
Right. It's still relatively solid, but the fact that they know each other. There is, again, no reference to the apartment and the changing of their apartment, but that's okay because it's forgivable given the situation they were in.
That's funny.
There's also a mention of Redheads.
Yeah, I like that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, that's good. Which is actually, now to think about it, this is the second week in a row that there has been a Spidey book with a reference to Redheads, particularly a certain Redhead. So that was kind of funny.
I was about to say, it's definitely not a Cyclops level infatuation because, we're talking about someone that has dated both Gwen Stacy and the Black Cat. So,
yeah, exactly.
Pete doesn't exactly have a a type other than hot. So
exactly.
you know.
So, but yeah, so that just happened to come up because, again, like I said, Firestar in her in costume form just happened to be passing by, you know, which is how I love the way they kind of linked the three of them kind of come together. Like I said, they're all at this particular street fair, and they all had, you know, dates that went of varying degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, think about it. No, I'm not spoiling it, but yeah, they went varying degrees, and so they only went two ways.
Yeah, I was about to say, well, I mean, we can't really count Spidey's. That's the thing.
Right. Well, yeah, basically, but you know, but everybody else's date kind of went away.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone else's is kind of like in the earlier stages, you know, of courtship. So,
which leads all of them to kind of have a conversation about that near the end before, you know, kind of
going their separate ways.
Right. So, and again, there's a lot of ties, including I don't know if you probably saw it, which a very notable tie to the opening of Spidey and the Amazing Friends in one panel.
I probably scrolled past it too quickly. It's the hazards of reading our review copies the way we do.
That's true. But regardless, if it's not, then it was still an episode because it was a definite tie. Like I said, I noticed a couple of different ties to it. There was some interesting, and actually, I think Cena Grace kind of asked at the end of the book in the letters page of his writing of Peter, which I was like, this seems a little, you know, a little young for the way Peter, current, I should say, for the way Peter talks. But at the same time, it's not outside the realm of the possibilities.
I was about to say the guy's always been young at heart. So
true.
I don't think
it wasn't egregious or anything. But it's like, yeah, okay, I can see it. You know.
Yeah. You know, like we were talking about last week. I remember we discussed that length, Marvel's rubber band timeline, flexible timeline, and you know, constantly de-aging some of their characters. You know, granted, Spider-Verse is going to do a bit to age Peter slightly, but we're not talking about someone who's deep into their 30s anymore. Sure. We're not. You know, we're talking about someone in their late 20s, early 30s at the most.
Right.
You know, someone who's just now kind of, you know, falling a little out of step with the young people, you know? But like I said, young at heart, so it's always, you know.
Right. Yeah, but it's Peter. We love him. He was even in this time, he was still a little awkward.
Yeah, exactly.
But like I said, I enjoyed this issue a lot. It's a particular click of the week because of the Spidey and Amazing Friends references and all that. And I'm always going to be a sucker for this if it's well written. So, if you are of a certain vintage and do have that same connection, you should check out this issue. Like I said, you don't necessarily need to know what's going on in the book proper, but it will kind of mention what's going on.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Maybe one book each before we hit rapid fire. No pun. No offense intended.
Sure.
Let's see. Let's talk about Immortal Hulk.
Okay, sure. Go for it.
Number 8. Yeah, I know that you meant to read it. I won't spoil too much. Or maybe I'll save this for rapid fire. Let me switch to something I read at length that you didn't read. Let me switch publishers to, let's go to Batman. Batman number 58. So the continuing machinations of, spoiler alert, of one Bane are continuing, and not spoiling anything here, but the Penguin is now involved in the machinations against Batman. And in this issue, due to various things going wrong, the Penguin finds himself under the influence of Bane, and he is tasked with taking out a member of the Bat family that is close to Bruce Wayne. and without too much process of elimination, you can kind of figure out who I'm talking about. Especially given the events that we've discussed in the recent past regarding Nightwing. That eliminating that particular character doesn't leave us with very many more to talk about who are particularly close to Bruce Wayne. So, but there's a twist at the end of this issue, and it seems like the Penguin is not acting as he has been requested to, and has something up his sleeve in terms of what is going to happen next. So that's where we find ourselves at the end of the story. Talking about being purposefully vague, but at the end of the day, it's a lot like one of PCN_Dirt's biggest complaints about this book is that not much happens sometimes. Sometimes there's a lot of stuff happening all at once, but very often it does seem like King is writing to the trade, and there's a lot of maybe small things happening that lead characters to a certain point. But in olden days gone by, a lot of that stuff would be taken care of in 1 or 2 pages, not 5 or 6.
Right. And usually it's like, quote unquote, what happens is usually some action, and not necessarily, because we all know that there are things that happen that are not action, just more exposition or whatever the case may be. But that doesn't necessarily translate to interest for some, because, you want to get to some action or some kind of resolution of said action. Okay, cool. I think what we got. Let me see what I have here. I only have 2 more books. So, unless you got another one you want to throw out there, then we can go on to.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'll spin it up. All respect due to the folks out there. This is our way of saying that we are going to be shooting off quick reviews. Spinning it up.
So, yes, we are going into the rapid fire section of the comics for this week, and I will go ahead and do my 2, and we're going to go to the Star Wars corner of the universe with Star Wars Han Solo Imperial Cadet #1. Really not much to say about this outside of the fact that, hey, do you remember that part of Solo movie when he was escaping? And spoiler alert if you haven't seen this, I guess, but he's escaping Corellia with his friend, and he joins the Imperial Navy. Well, this is that part where they didn't show, as I'm showing the cover, or at least starting to show. I should leave the part. So this is basically, but the part between he leaves Corellia and meets up with Beckett and squad on whatever planet that was. So that's pretty much that's the start of that. And my last book would be Star Wars number 56. So they're still on the run from the Empire. They have recruited Star Wars again to kind of help them find the rest of the fleet and the Millennium, most specifically the Millennium Falcon, who's with the fleet when everybody had to scatter. So they're trying to find leads to try to find the fleet so they can find the Falcon. And they end up, as they tend to do, or maybe we're not in this situation, but the things usually don't always go that great on them. So they come across an Imperial Star Destroyer, which they're going to have to figure out how to go around. And then they get the plan to jettison part of their cargo, you might say, that being our crew of rebels. Okay. While Sana goes and deals with the Imperial Star Destroyer. But so they take a pod, they go down to this planet hidden, and they run across some potential trouble, but at the end of the book, it looks like no, they're pretty much in lap of luxury. But as we have always found out with our crew in this books, everything may or may not be as what it seems. Although at the seams of the book, it seems like they're just chilling. So we'll see how that plays out next issue.
Okay.
And that is it for my books.
Alrighty. So as for my books, I wanted to touch on a few notes, or at least a note or two on some books that PCN_Dirt and I both read. I wanted to mention that for Batman, Dirt's concise review was Batman was poopy. So that said, we have a few more books. I read The Green Lantern #1 this week. That is a big launch. Dirt said that he wishes Green Lantern was better. I thought it was okay. I thought that the art by Liam Sharp was on point. His monstrous aliens are really good. It always does seem like writers are putting Hal Jordan on the outs with the Guardians, but as always, he's tasked with the hardest jobs. And Morrison's not exactly exploring new territory with this, but the developments regarding an alleged spoiler alert traitor to the GL Corps and a weaponeer of Quard at the end of the issue are intriguing. So there is definitely potential for good stories to come, but the first issue, especially if you're not too jazzed with the kind of busy layout that Liam Sharp uses in this book, there's not much to the story really. So I would counsel patience when it comes to this. I'd like to see Morrison and Sharp get a good footing on a Green Lantern book.
But I think Tim even said something like he wished the Green Lantern made sense to him. So I don't know what was. I didn't read this myself, so I don't know what was. I guess going on with what you were just saying.
Right. Basically, if you use what my quickie, mostly non-spoilery part of the review was, you get an idea of where we are. So if you read it with that in mind, you'll be like, oh, okay, this is the setup.
And I was also going to say that they always go back to Hal Jordan in general, much less putting them against the core, but they just always go back to him as a kind of the go-to.
Well, he is the OG. Well, I mean, if we're not talking Alan Scott, right? So,
well, yeah.
But next up is Death of the Inhumans #5. Now, Dirt said that he was kind of disappointed by this. I was actually relieved by some of the twists in the story. So there's a bit of a swerve at the end. There are definitely some dead Inhumans in the final body count of the series, but there remains enough left of the Inhumans to tell future stories, and I'll leave it at that. So I definitely understand Dirt's disappointment at how the book ended, but I was generally relieved. So we had different expectations. We'll put it that way. Next up is Immortal Hulk #8, and I wanted to talk about this. There's so much to talk about because there's a lot of twists in this. Dirt's quickie review was, it makes zero sense, but he loved it. And I have to agree because it was creepy as hell, but a lot of fun. And even as weird and as creepy as it was, it's still a candidate for Click of the Week for me. And I know it was for Dirt also. Last is, I think that might be it. That's it.
I believe also Tim may have said he...
Oh, he also mentioned that he wishes that Green Lantern made sense, as you mentioned.
Well, no, I said that one, yeah. Right. But I thought he said something about Immortal Hulk also. No, that's right. That was something he said.
He wants to read it.
Right. So that's not that. Anyway.
Right. So it seems like we are ready for Clicks of the Week. Are
we? Yes. We are ready for Clicks of the Week.
All right, here they come.
And we already have Dirt's and Tim's, which are respectively Immortal Hulk #8 for Dirt, And a book we didn't talk about was Marvel Knights 20th #1 for Tim.
And I'm surprised at this. I wasn't so enthusiastic reading this, but I'm glad that Tim liked it.
I mean, you got to think about it. I can't speak for him, but I would imagine it has something to do with the fact that it's Marvel Knights, and that's a book that was very much around his time. Again, I can't speak for him, and I don't know. So,
right.
And I don't think he put much in.
Not too much. Yeah, not too much of an explanation.
So, but regardless, like I said, I am not speaking for him, but just that is my speculation.
Gotcha.
I didn't get a chance to read this, so I don't know either. But I was kind of curious about it. For yourself,
I'm gonna roll with what I've been enjoying for the last few weeks and last month or two, and that is Spider-Geddon #3.
Okay. All right. And for myself, I think it's probably no surprise. It probably shouldn't be if you heard my review, and that would be Iceman #3.
Nice. I mean, based on how you were talking about it, I kind of figured, but that looked like a lot of fun. I'm gonna have to go back and read it.
Yeah, you should check it out. I think you'll appreciate what it's putting down.
Cool. All right. So before we transition into the news, our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now, the listeners of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. Alrighty, so I guess we can transition into the news.
Yes. And as we do all the time, we're going to start off with the cinematic news. And that would be Ming-Na Wen reveals Agents of S.H.I.E.L.'s cast and crew's onesies Halloween costumes. So apparently the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did the little Halloweening.
Yeah, they're I was about to say they're in production, so they are definitely all together.
Mm-hmm. So as you can see, there's some pictures here of the cast.
Cool.
Yeah. So, cool beans.
Alrighty. Next up, Marvel's Jeff Loeb teases a possible crossover between Runaways on Freeform Runaways on Hulu and Cloak and Dagger on Freeform.
Wait, I thought Cloak and Dagger was also on. It is on Freeform, but I think they do show it on. I don't know. Regardless, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Hulu's the aggregator usually, but Runaways is the exclusive Hulu show,
right?
Which I still haven't watched yet because I don't have Hulu.
I haven't watched it yet either, and I do have it, but
no.
Yeah, that's why I've been thinking about giving it up. But yeah, so apparently some folks have on it, and it sounds like something that is a good fit for both of those shows. So again, it's not a fact that it's happening, but apparently Jeff Loeb is like they've been thinking about it. Next up, in this report, Luke Cage and Iron Fist lost 2/3 of viewers in second seasons, which possibly contributed to the fact. And I believe there was another article going on about Daredevil. So also, it might be something in here. But regardless, that might have possibly led to the cancellation of both of those shows on Netflix. We don't necessarily know.
I find that remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen that And there were aspects of both of those shows' second seasons that people kind of like better than the first one, and it's particularly in Iron Fist's case.
Right. I just, I find it remarkable that there would be that kind of a drop off.
Yeah, I know.
That's pretty big, especially for Luke Cage.
Right. It seems weird. It does for sure. But like I said, we only have the numbers that Netflix is willing to share.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
Right.
And I think I believe there's also, like I said previously, there was a similar article about Daredevil, and I don't think there's been one about Jessica Jones, or Punisher, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So next up.
So there's a report that Disney Scarlet Witch television series will co-star another Avenger. Duh. While Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch will reportedly star in her own miniseries on Disney's upcoming streaming service. A new report indicates that she won't be the only Avenger to appear. Spoiler alert, non-spoiler alert, because it's really spoiler, people. Paul Bettany's Vision, who debuted alongside the Scarlet Witch in Civil War, is expected to make an appearance or appearances in the streaming show.
Yes, because historically they have never had a comic book that did not have, well, especially with them two, that or wasn't one too far from the other.
Right.
Like it has happened at times, but not
right. They've had solo books and solo adventurers, but one is never too far from the other.
And even in those books, especially the recent ones, they've both shown up.
Exactly.
So, again, not that far off. So yeah, if that happens, all right, sure. Makes sense. Black Panther claws its way to top prize from Hollywood Film Awards. So, folks, it's award season. And actually, I didn't read this. So apparently, this was the Hollywood Film Awards. It recognizes the usual achievements like directing, acting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they also do other interesting categories. And in this case, Black Panther won Best Production Design, Infinity War, won prize for visual effects, with some people named specifically, and a couple other awards for other movies. So cool.
Alrighty. Next up, Disney has already recouped the $4 billion it paid for Lucasfilm. Nice. We have a sound effect for this, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. Like again, should be surprised to no one. Like they made money, folks, off of the properties.
Seriously.
Off of a specific property, actually.
Right. That it took them 6 years to do it might actually even be a little shocking.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, I'm kind of surprised it hasn't been before now. So, like, shit, because that train's been running.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. So, good on them, I guess. Robin Wright on Time's Up pay parody in Wonder Woman 1984, which I believe this is basically, I put this in here to say that, yes, she's going to be in Wonder Woman 1984. And I believe there was another part of this that was prevalent, but I can't remember. But yeah, this is confirming that she's going to be in Wonder Woman 1984.
Alrighty. Next up, Zachary Levi has revealed close-up photo of the Shazam costume as a result of reshoots that are going on that began in Toronto this week for the Shazam movie.
Man, who'd have thought Chuck would be playing? Actually, you know what? That's not big of a stretch. Never mind. Forget I was gonna forget about that. So yeah, we see a shot of the belt.
Well, because you don't think of him as a meathead, and that's what Shazam has often been portrayed as, especially when it comes to maturity level.
Well, I was about to say, yeah, more childlike in
right. Right. He's not a meathead like on Archie Bunker,
Right.
That's a shout out to a very different time, people.
Yeah, definitely people of a certain vintage would catch that one. Yeah. So yeah,
I'd say Rob Reiner has gone a long way to distance himself in his career from being a meathead.
Yeah, definitely. As you know, and I'm sure his father Carl, had a hand in that. So
exactly.
But yeah, moving right along. Detailed look at classic Aquaman costume revealed by Madame Toussaint's sculpture. So yeah, Jason Momoa as Aquaman is getting a figure in Madame Toussaint's gallery. I don't know, is that it? Wait, or do they even show it? I'm not even sure if that's it or do they show it. I think that's it right there. The picture that you are seeing on the video. If you're watching, you should be sometimes because hey, sometimes we have some stuff on here you can see. But yeah, there's that. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do this next one.
The next one, yeah, it's related.
Because it's related in that hold your breath for a colorful flood of new Aquaman character posters. So yeah, I think this came out a day or two ago where there's actually it might have been yesterday. Where there's some new character posters for the Aquaman movie that is coming up pretty soon. And you can see there's the one for Mira, there's the one for Aquaman, and then there's Nicole Kidman as Atlanta. And Black Manta. Some cool looking posters. I will say that. So Orm, Falco, I don't have no idea who that is. In fact, we've gotten to the point where I have no idea who these people are outside of those first three.
That's not hard with Aquaman.
I mean, or actually it's probably four, I should say, because Manta. Anyway, so yeah, those posters are out there, and that movie's coming up soon. Check it out.
All right, so a Gotham season 5 photo teases a major comics accurate upgrade for spoiler alert. So apparently it's for
the Penguin.
Ah, Pengy.
So we have apparently this is a fan account, so I'm not sure how much of a grain of salt this should be taken outside of that one particular grain. And we see a shot of what looks to be a casting chair with the Penguin's name on it and a very familiar chapeau.
Ah.
So is it possible that he will be donning the top hat? We shall see, I guess.
We shall.
Next up,
the flat. Wait, did we talk about this already?
No, we did not.
Oh, okay. Well, no, you got this one.
Yeah. Jesse L. Martin taking a medical leave of absence from season 5. So apparently, Jesse L. Martin, who plays Joe West on The Flash, has a back injury. We wish him, a speedy recovery. Actually, and this also says that in an article, as opposed to what I just said.
Because they can't help themselves; they just can't.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess pun absolutely was intended. So yeah, the according to the report, the character's absence will be addressed on the show, but at the time of the writing, it's unclear how long Martin will be away from the role. So the CW statement indicates he will eventually return. So,
all right. Next up, in CW Hero Show news, Guardian's role in Supergirl takes a surprising and unwelcome turn. So, Guardian, the dude in the shield,
being played by James Olsen,
which is weird, but okay. And
rework.
I know, right? Exactly. So apparently, James Olsen had been ordered to not act like the hero, but now is defying a court order to do it.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah, again, I haven't been keeping up with the show, so I don't know what caused that.
Right. Yeah, I don't either, so it's surprising. I'm just surprised that Jimmy Olsen is doing something super heroic, so come on, I'll leave it at that.
I mean, yeah, and he had, even before the Guardian thing came up, he was in the mix. So, and not just with his camera, actually, far from. Now that they got away from that. He was actually like heading up Catco.
Really?
For a while, yeah.
Okay.
So in absence of Cat Grant, but Which that didn't actually keep that long, but regardless. So yeah, so apparently, yeah, he did defy whatever court order was going on, and his notice didn't go too far unnoticed because he was basically, well, it basically got out on the news that he was back out there, but it was taken in at a different stance than it was intended because he was, I guess, helping. I don't know if he was helping Supergirl or lose himself, but there was some aliens that were being controlled that was causing a muck, which has happened on the show once or twice. And he tried to go and intervene and brought the system down, but it was taken that he was fighting the aliens, and therefore he in his guardian role became the poster board for anti-alien sentiments, which is far from, which is far from the way he actually is portrayed as he actually is, because obviously he's a friend and kind of sort of love interest for Supergirl, or was anyway at one point. I don't know where that went. So yeah, that's, needless to say, probably not going to sit well. But it is a thing that's going on the show, or has been going on the show.
You got next.
Yep. Jason Todd, the other Robin, that is their words, not mine, debuts in New Titans photos from season 5. So yeah, so Titans has been going on, and I still haven't seen one episode yet. And as you see from these pictures, the two Robins meet each other, and the Jason Todd looks like dude from Kick-Ass.
Okay.
The other dude from Kick-Ass. Which is weird, and they kind of do favor each other if you're looking at this picture. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, outside of the hair, the emo looking hair.
I'll have to look at this more closely.
Yeah, there's a difference. And actually, weirdly enough, he kind of looks like Damien. I guess if they had a live action Damien, he would probably be sporting look like this. In fact, yeah, it definitely does look like the current Damien, especially with the suit. But anyway, so Jason Todd's on the show, which we already knew. But yeah.
Alrighty, next up, there are pics out of Henry Cavill as Geralt in Netflix's version of The Witcher.
Yes, and apparently no CGing out of his beard for this.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
But yes, but that chin of his, definitely noticeable. So yeah, so there you go. We see what Henry Cavill's going to look like as Geralt. Yeah. Next up, Kelly Ripa joins Riverdale as Spoiler's mistress. So, I guess I hadn't read this article, but I figured this is where it was going. Kelly Ripa has been cast as Hiram Lodges, which is Veronica's dad's mistress in the 3rd season of of Riverdale.
Right. My understanding is that this character is played by her real life husband. So,
right, that is absolutely true. So, fits.
Okay. All right. So as we transition into comic news, I have some breaking Toy Corner news from the Comic Chronicles that is personal. So here we go, transitioning. So I just received an email earlier tonight with some pretty bad news. It's from Amazon. It says, "Hello. Due to a lack of availability, we will not be able to obtain the following items from your order. Funko Pop Marvel Black Panther Okoye with red dress and removable wig, fall convention exclusive. And they have canceled my item."
Oh, no.
Yup, that is some crap. That's pretty stinky because I thought I got in there well before it sold out. And they screwed me. So thanks for nothing, Amazon. I expect something, some good news for some other item I've been looking for to offset that.
How about that? Now you're just not getting charged for that. That's about as far as that's gonna go. But that's fucked up.
It's
yeah, because we both wanted that figure, and neither one of us got it.
Right.
Although
I got in. Yeah, I was about to say I at least got in while they said it was in stock, and you got there a little too late. But it turns out neither of us are getting it, so that sucks.
But again, it's out there on eBay. But at the price for it is probably not necessarily. Although I've seen like $20, that's still more than like $25, but that's still a lot to pay for that. Or at least the last time I checked, it's probably upwards of 30 or 40 at this point. I know I've seen some, or even on Amazon for that price. So that's sad.
That kind of sucks. So, moving on with the rest of our comic book related news. Let me take the first one. Spoiler alert: Aquaman's history has been rewritten in Justice League's Drowned Earth number 1, and James Tynion has explained it online.
Yep. So if you're checking out that crossover, which is going on right now, you can go have at it. We don't need to get into that because I don't think either one of us have been.
I've read it and I didn't get it, and I really should have. I should go back and read the Drowned Earth number 1 one shot because apparently this force, everything's about forces in the DC universe right now. Yeah. It's all about forces. Force this and Speed Force and this force.
Not even the Force.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously. So it's all a bunch of hogwash and just it's hooey. So it's lots of forces left and right.
Yes. Always gin up a force or some kryptonite. Next up, DC has resurrected the Ultimate Crisis villain. This is a spoiler for a book that I don't think anybody's reading. The Unexpected number 6, which I have. Yeah, I don't know.
Should I ring the bell?
No, not really, because I'm not even sure if I see who it is. And again, I don't think too many people actually. Something about the monitors. Let's put it that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. It was announced earlier this week or late last week that a Guardian of the Galaxy is getting the Logan treatment in a new Marvel series. So
not even Logan and Hawkeye at this point.
Right. So it's going to be an Old Man Quill book written by Ethan Sachs and drawn by Robert Gill.
Yeah. As I said on Twitter, I'm like, you know what? I was tired of this old man thing. Although the Hawkeye one hasn't been that terrible.
Well, at the very least, there was some meat on that story bone because Hawkeye was a part of the Old Man story, the Old Man Logan story.
Right.
So you could at least explore how he got to that point. But now we're dealing. Right. At least there was some demand for that. Is there demand for an Old Man Quill book?
I'm going to personally say no.
Yep.
And I don't see what would the point serve. Like, yeah, sure. There are people that, there are a bunch of folks that actually no, there weren't that many people that survived. Back, I think one fairly recent issue of Old Man Hawkeye kind of went over like how he survived. Or they might have touched on that before. I know for certain, and a few other people may or may not have got out. Some of that's been kind of talked about in that book, but not enough to be like, okay, this is worth putting up other people. And I guess on that point, we'll go to the next one and say that Marvel may have just created Old Man Captain America, which is a spoiler for Hawkeye and Old Man Hawkeye number 10, which I have yet to read. And apparently with the ongoing, which I guess also could possibly make sense, but at the same time, I could have sworn in that particular book, I have seen an issue of, I've seen a panel of Cap getting taken out. This could be a new Captain America, but then again, Steve was already old, so it isn't.
Right.
So he can't possibly get that much more older than what he already
is.
Exactly. What he already was. So, but this is not saying that this is well, actually, maybe it is saying that, but So yeah, so if you haven't been reading the Old Man Hawkeye, he's going after this is like 5 years or so before the events of Old Man Logan, and he's going blind, and he's got to score to settle, and he's been doing that during the course of the book, and being chased by not only Bullseye but Venom symbiotes for some odd reason. I have no idea. Okay. And yeah, this, like I said, it's been kind of going through some things. So whatever this Captain America tie is, it's a thing. So next up,
So, on the heels of, I guess, a successful Wolverine podcast, Marvel announces a new Wolverine podcast that's going to follow on the heels of Wolverine: The Long Night. And there's going to be a new podcast that follows up on what happened, and it's going to feature Gambit as well.
Why can't we stop all of this Wolverine madness?
Oh, stop. We really haven't had that much Wolverine lately.
Oh, come on. How long has Wolverine been coming back this past year? How many books have been dedicated to that?
That's true.
And then this. It's definitely like the 90s over again. Like, I bet you if they could have done this in the 90s, they would have. Actually, they probably did. I don't know. Anywho, so, yeah. It is what it is. Yeah, so yeah, whatever. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that podcast, other podcasts, and whatever. And that's we're talking about this way too long. Exclusive Marvel Select Iron Man figure. Speaking of Toy Corner, brings Infinity War to the Disney Store. So we have the Mark 50 joined the line of Marvel Select figures, which is the one from Infinity War. So it's good looking though. Right. Not surprisingly, and it's come with the accoutrement that it does.
So, yeah, the various nanotech based extensions that automatically appear on Iron Man's armor.
Yep, and this will be coming out. This line will be coming out in late December. So, but you can go ahead and go to Shop Disney if you're and purchase it. Next up.
Toys R Us is returning as Jeffrey's Toy Box inside Kroger stores. Now, this would be good if there was a freaking Kroger supermarket anywhere near me in the tri-state area.
So this is so we've talked about how Toys R Us went the way of the dodo, and apparently and is now coming back, and we did not know
it went Jurassic World. It went Jurassic Park on us.
Yeah. But as life finds a way, so did Toys R Us apparently. Shortly after its demise. In Kroger's of all places.
Right. So it's the weirdest thing. Is there a Kroger's near you?
Yeah. In fact, I used to work for Kroger's because the one down the street from me is yeah. So yeah, Kroger's is apparently America's largest supermarket chain, which I did not know because I figured it was like East Coast. Oh. Is
it? It's not in New York City.
Well, I mean, you guys have other places. But apparently,
Whole Foods is now Amazon.
That is also true. Which actually, doggone it, I know I forgot something. Because I was going to bring that particular article up actually, which. Not for nothing for comics, but I'll dig it up in a second. So yeah, Jeffrey's Toy Box delivers a unique shopping destination within Kroger stores. And I'm like, I used to work at the Kroger, so I'm like, I don't know where they would find the shelf. Although they used to, because if you've seen my office in here, there is a Rolf figure that I bought from that said Kroger. Because when I used to work there, and I did actually buy it.
I love it. Listen to this. I put my my home zip code in deep in the heart of Brooklyn, New York, and advanced search stores near me, Kroger in Virginia. So suck it, Kroger.
And which is why I was thinking, I was like, wait, I don't remember it being that particularly wide, but it says here there's 600 Kroger stores and subsidiary stores across America. So maybe there's a subsidiary store that's up there near you. I don't know. I guess. Still tough luck for all those employees of Toys R Us that got dealt a bad hand.
Right, and even for the folks that are hunting for their toys in various places. Now, I know that I follow on social media various action figure, specifically Marvel Legends collectors. And they're talking about finding figures in all sorts of places. We've seen GameStop and Target start to pick up some of the slack. Even like, 5 and under stores picking up some of the leftover stuff that came from Toys R Us stock. I've not yet seen any of that in a 5 and under that I've walked into recently, but I've definitely seen some Walgreens backstock and some Target stuff start to pop up, in terms of increased visibility for toys.
Right, and of course, your local comic book shop will, have probably picked over their local season Toys R Us.
Right. So ultimately, if you're looking for stuff, unfortunately, it's probably easiest to find it online, and you're just going to have to bite the bullet and deal with some of the premium markups. So, or deal with some of the discounts on some of the things that aren't selling. Like, if you look hard enough on Amazon, you'll laugh. You'll be like, you'll find a set that an internet retailer, like a well-known toy internet retailer. Let's say I'm going to use the Marvel Legends sets, like a case without doubles, right?
Right.
To build a figure, and you'll find the cost. You'll find it at like a $20 or $30 discount if you just put the figures together on Amazon.
Yep.
With or without Prime,
Yeah, there's also that consideration.
So it all depends, you can pick and choose, but yeah, with the holiday season upon us, you're never going to see, like a heavy dose of action figures in those KB pop-ups, for Christmas. But we'll see how it goes. It's a tough time to be collecting now with the hole and the vacuum that's still in the marketplace.
Right, and I'm going to just go back to the article real quick. If I remember a layout of the Kroger's, I know it probably has changed well because I haven't worked there in eons and eons. It's probably just like a Walgreens or whatever, where they have a section of, of an aisle.
Exactly.
You remember they used to do that.
Right.
So it's probably a section of an aisle where they have this, and probably by the deli. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. They're probably there's probably like a smaller selection of figures there. So
or where the video shop used to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like I literally was in a Walgreens today. I was joking with my sister about how I haven't been able to find a Fantastic Four thing at any Walgreens, and I had to resort to asking PCN_dirt to get me one and send it to me. And I went to one up here that in the wilds of upstate New York, and it didn't have it. I was like, I just started laughing. It's like, I'm so glad I don't have to go looking for this thing.
Well, yeah, and it's weird because it's also weird because it's like I went into one local to me. I told you this already, and I found one. So it's amazing how the availability in certain parts, because you would think where you are, they would have a bigger start of that kind of stuff.
But there might be higher demand here, so it goes in and out of stock very quickly.
True.
Higher concentration of people and collectors. So
true. So there is that. But I did find the moving right along. We're gonna.
Yeah, we'll move things along real quick. We're almost done with the news.
Yeah, because we only got like one more article. But I did find the article that I was looking for, and that Toys R Us is dead, so Amazon will mail you toy catalogs instead. So Amazon's doing a thing where they will mail you a toy catalog like the ones of old. The twist is these would have QR codes where you could, pull up the listings on your phone.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's actually is kind of cool, because I would imagine if things were progressing the way they were and toy stores and the like were still one around and two still sending out catalogs. Shout out to Sam Solomon, aka Service Merchandise, and all those places like that. They would probably be going the QR code route and with their physical books.
Alrighty, and
so there'll probably be like PDFs or something, or I don't know.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't really say here. Actually, now that I think about it, it doesn't matter. You can go seek that out because it's a thing.
Right. So last up, I guess I'll take this last story since you added that story on. Brown coats unite for Titan Books' stellar new Firefly encyclopedia. So the Firefly Legacy, the television show, is alive and well in 2018, with Fox still holding out hope for Joss Whedon-led revival. Greg Pak is actually writing a comic book series published by Boom Studios coming out this month. And now a companion book has been released by London-based Titan Books. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. Take my love, take my land, do the rest of that song. Don't know what the thing is. But yeah, so it's a good looking book. Firefly fans, I would argue myself probably included. I may pick this up. I don't know. But yeah, it's a thing. It is coming out soon. Yes, but this article has a 12-page preview of said book, and it's 254 pages. Sorry, dyslexics there. That is coming up, and it doesn't say when.
Okay.
So look out for that for your holiday perusals. And that, folks, is the end of the news section, and therein lying ever so close to the end of the show until we have an ad to read.
Right. So we just spent a few minutes talking about this particular company. So our last ad read of the night is for Amazon. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, etc., etc. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
So as we start to close out this episode of the Comic Book Chronicles, there's a couple of Twitter things that I missed from earlier. From shout out to Matt Wayne 97, longtime friend of the show, personal friend of Agent 7. He's also he says,
"What a bum."
Yes, we found out the reason why Agent 70 could not find anything because apparently Matt bought them all. So there is that, and there's also his tweet about Wang would love to see a Spidey and Amazing Friends Marvel Series 2, and he also says by Kelly Thompson. I think that's possibly, hopefully, maybe by Kelly Thompson, which I can kind of see that actually.
Cool.
She might be able to do that book some justice. She's doing all right with that. Seems to be doing all right with the Wackos so far. But I mean, or we can find somebody new. I mean, she's got a lot on her plate. We can find someone else to write that. But that's a good pick, regardless. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that is that. And we're going to close out this show. Thank you, each and every one of you, from coming out. Again, you can find us at our respective places on these social medias. You can find myself, Radicat, at Radicat on Twitter, News Nerds Need on Twitter, News Nerds Need Reddit, and CB Caps Instagram. Agent_7, you can find him at Agent_7 on Twitter and Instagram. Oh goodness, burping. You can find PCN_Dirt at that on Twitter, and Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, idcomics.com. And of course, the one and only Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, the KLIQ Nation, the KLIQ NATION on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter. Sure, CBCHRON, because I've never had to spell that one before, but I figure I will do that now. TheClickNation.com, and also Comic Book Resources, where he's writing his face off. Go over and check out his stuff. You find us here podcast on the CSPN network. That's CSPN.us, along with other fine products of podcastery sorts. And you can also subscribe to this here podcast on Google Play, Apple iTunes, and now on this new service called Spotify. Hopefully the kids will start using that, and for their podcasting and musical perusals. So just search out Comic Book Chronicles on Spotify, and you should be able to find us.
You are the first. We are the first result.
Okay, great. Wait, we should be the only result. We need to call legal then. Anybody else Chronicles? Anyway, last but not least, shop.cspn. You can go get some merch from the CSPN family of podcasting shows, such as this one, blazing with our logo. You should go and rock that. con season will be back here before you know it. You might want a shirt with the logo on it. Be like, bling. One of us at a con and be like, hey, I like you guys. With that, we close the show out. I don't think you had anything else you wanted to bring up.
No, I'm good.
Okay. So with that, this, folks, is the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles, and we are out.
Peace.
Good evening, Rick.
Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your ego